All right, let's dive into this Golden Future Initiative.
Seems like a pretty interesting concept, right? Basically, we're looking at a marketplace. It connects baby boomer business owners with buyers, and they're getting ready to retire, so they're looking for that perfect person to, take over.
Yeah.
But it's not just about the sale, though, is it? It's got to be more than that. They're looking for someone who shares those same values, the same vision for the company.
Right there.
It's about that legacy continuing what they built, right?
Absolutely. And you know what's really striking to me is just the sheer scale of this whole thing. The source material we're looking at says there are over 2.3 million baby boomer-owned businesses just in the U.S.
Wow.
That's millions of employees. We're talking billions in revenue.
Yeah.
Just imagine the ripple effect as all these businesses start changing hands.
It's pretty overwhelming when you think about it like that. I mean, that's a huge chunk of the economy, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's a massive shift.
So that's where this Golden Future Initiative comes in. It's not just like throwing a listing up on some random website.
It's about making these deeper connections, going beyond just the money side of things.
Exactly. It's about finding the right fit. The platform, it really prioritizes these matches between sellers and buyers. But it's not just any match. It's about aligning on values, on vision.
Right, I see.
The source material uses phrases like preserving legacies and ensuring that companies continue to thrive. So it's definitely a different approach.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty, the how-to here. How does this marketplace actually work? What's the process like for, say, a business owner wanting to sell?
Sure. So for sellers, they have this premium listing option, and it's actually pretty reasonable. It's only $35 a month.
Oh, wow. That's not bad.
No, not at all. And that gets them access to what they call the seller's portal.
Okay.
It's all designed to be very confidential. It's like a safe space where they can connect with these vetted potential buyers.
That makes sense, yeah. So that's for sellers. What about for, like, someone who wants to buy a business? What makes this marketplace stand out for them?
Well, for buyers, they get free access. They can browse through all these curated listings.
So no sifting through tons of junk, basically.
Exactly. They're only seeing businesses that are actually aligned with what they're looking for, and they get to connect directly with the sellers,
Oh, that's interesting.
It makes the whole process much more personal, much more transparent.
I see. So they're really going for that community feel, aren't they? Like building a sense of shared purpose. But I'm curious, how do they actually figure out if a buyer and seller are a good match in terms of values? Like, is there some kind of questionnaire or an algorithm, maybe even interviews?
That's a great question. And honestly, the source material doesn't really get into the specifics of the matching process, but I'd imagine it's a combination of different things, right? There's probably some kind of profiling, maybe through questionnaires, or even using AI to analyze business plans and mission statements. The kind of stuff that reveals their core values.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's not just about crunching numbers, it's really about getting to the heart of the business. But, if I think about selling something I poured my life into, it must be really hard letting go. I mean, it can't just be about finding a match on paper, can it?
Absolutely. It's a huge emotional decision.
Yeah.
And I think the initiative recognizes that. They talk about honoring hard work, ensuring seamless transitions. They get that it's more than just a business deal. It's about finding someone who understands the legacy, someone who can carry it forward with respect.
It's almost like a mentorship, passing on that wisdom, that experience. This is really interesting. Hey, before we move on, the source material mentioned golden connections and golden spaces. What are those all about? It sounds intriguing, but they didn't give much detail.
Yeah, those are interesting, aren't they? They're part of what they call the Golden Life community.
Okay.
It seems to be like a bigger ecosystem, more than just the marketplace itself.
Oh, I see.
You could think of it as a support network for those businesses after the transition.
Okay, that makes sense. So resources, connections, maybe even physical spaces.
Yeah, I think that's the idea.
A built-in community. It's pretty cool. Okay, so before we get too far ahead, there are a couple of specific details I wanted to point out. The source material mentioned Kathy Torrecchione and Scott Winton. They're the ones behind this whole initiative.
Oh, okay.
I think having those names attached makes a difference, don't you? It feels more personal, you know? Like it's not just some faceless corporation.
You're right. It does add that personal touch.
And they also mentioned an enrollment form for sellers.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it makes it feel more real, like a tangible first step.
Makes sense.
So, okay, we've got this massive wave of businesses getting ready to change hands. And this Golden Future Initiative is trying to make those transitions smoother, more meaningful, better for everyone involved.
Right. And what really stands out to me is that it's not just about keeping the business going. It's about recognizing that human element, the emotions tied to these decisions. It's acknowledging that for a lot of these entrepreneurs, their business is more than just a way to make money. It's an extension of themselves, you know?
It's their legacy.
Exactly.
And that brings up an interesting question. Does focusing so much on legacy and values limit the potential buyers? Could it actually hinder a business's growth? What do you think?
That's a good point. It's definitely a balancing act. Shared values are important, but being too restrictive could stifle things.
Yeah.
Maybe it's about finding that balance, finding buyers who respect the core values, but also bring something new to the table.
Fresh ideas, a new perspective.
Exactly. It's about evolution, not just staying the same.
That makes sense. So what kinds of businesses are we talking about here? Are these mainly smaller family-run businesses or larger corporations? Or is it a mix of everything?
That's where the source material gets a little vague. They just say diverse industries.
Okay.
But maybe that's intentional, you know? Maybe they want to show that the platform's for everyone. Think about it. It could be a family looking for someone to carry on their tradition, or a tech startup founder wanting someone to take their vision to the next level, or even a manufacturing business, one that really cares about its employees and the community.
So it's not about the size of the business. It's about finding that right fit, no matter what industry you're in. That's a really cool concept. And yeah, it makes me think, if these businesses transition smoothly, could that actually have a positive ripple effect?
What do you mean?
Well, think about it. More stability in local economies, continued employment opportunity, even just a sense of continuity within community.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're right. The impact could go way beyond the individual businesses.
Yeah.
It could contribute to the overall health of a community.
Exactly.
Imagine a town where all the beloved local businesses continue to thrive, even under new ownership. It preserves that character, that sense of place.
And the economic well-being.
Exactly.
Like a chain reaction of positive change.
Yeah.
All starting with finding those right matches.
I like that, a chain reaction.
Earlier we touched on that Golden Future initiative being part of a bigger ecosystem.
Right.
That Golden Life community concept with golden connections and golden spaces. It's really got me curious.
Yeah, those are definitely worth exploring further. What do you think golden connections could be?
Well, maybe it's networking events or some kind of online platform where these transition businesses can connect with each other. Maybe even mentoring.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Experienced business owners helping out those who are just starting out.
It could be a great way to share knowledge and build those relationships.
Yeah, and what about golden spaces? Could those be actual physical locations, like co-working spaces or incubator hubs, specifically designed for these businesses?
That's certainly possible. Imagine a shared workspace where everyone who's recently taken over a business can come together. They could collaborate, share resources, learn from each other.
It'd be like a central hub for these revitalized businesses.
Exactly.
A showcase for the community.
And a great way to address some of the challenges baby boomers might face as they retire. Finding purpose, staying connected, continuing to contribute.
So it's not just about the businesses themselves, it's about the people behind them, the ones who built these businesses from the ground up.
Right.
It's about recognizing that retirement doesn't have to mean the end of their journey.
Exactly. It's a shift in perspective. Retirement isn't a full stop, it's a comma.
I like that.
A pause before starting a new chapter.
Filled with new opportunities.
Exactly.
And it seems like this Golden Future initiative is providing a framework for that. It's about honoring the past while embracing the future.
It is.
Acknowledging the emotions, but also looking ahead with optimism.
I agree.
We've covered a lot of ground here today.
We have.
The sheer scale of these business transitions, the unique approach of this initiative.
It's fascinating stuff.
And the potential impact it could have on individuals and communities.
Yeah. And it's led us to some pretty thought-provoking questions. How does this initiative fit into the bigger picture of entrepreneurship? Could this model be replicated for other generations going through similar transitions?
And what does this tell us about how business ownership is changing? About legacy? About community?
These are definitely questions worth thinking about.
They really highlight how significant this Golden Future initiative could be.
They do.
It makes you think about the future of business, doesn't it? Could this model be adapted for other generations? Like, think about family businesses, or even just the way knowledge and skills are passed down in different industries.
That is really interesting to consider. What if this values-based approach was used for succession planning in other contexts? It could change the way we think about mentorship. about apprenticeships, even how we preserve traditional
It's
crafts.
about recognizing that human connection, that shared purpose.
How so?
Well, it suggests there's more to it than just making as much money as possible.
Right, right.
It's about more than just the bottom line.
It raises a good question. Can businesses be both profitable and purpose-driven?
Can they prioritize their employees, their communities, their impact on the world, and still be successful financially?
That's a tough question.
This Golden Future Initiative seems to think it's not only possible, but essential,
It's definitely a refreshing perspective.
especially in a world that often feels so obsessed with growth at all costs.
It's true.
This initiative reminds us that there's another way.
A way that values sustainability, connection, long-term well-being.
For both businesses and communities.
Exactly.
It's about finding that sweet spot
Where purpose and profit come together.
where businesses can thrive.
Not just financially, but in terms of their positive impact on the world.
And maybe that's the most valuable legacy of all. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the Golden Future Initiative, what are some key takeaways for our listeners? What's the big so what here?
Well, I think the main takeaway is that business transitions don't have to be just about transactions. They can be opportunities to build legacies, to share knowledge, to strengthen communities, and to ensure that businesses continue to thrive in a way that benefits everyone involved.
It's a good reminder that business is ultimately about people,
It is.
about relationships, about making a positive contribution to the world.
And that's a message worth spreading.
Absolutely.
It also leaves us with some questions to think about. What does legacy mean to you? How can you ensure that your work, whether it's in business or any other field, continues to have a positive impact, even after you've moved on?
These are important questions.
They are.
And maybe this Golden Future Initiative gives us a roadmap for how to approach these challenges with creativity, compassion, and a commitment to building a better future. Thank you for joining us on this fascinating journey into the Golden Future Initiative. It's been a deep dive full of insights and inspiration, and maybe even some challenges to our usual ways of thinking about business and legacy. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the ideas that shape our world.